These are the top 10 tight ends to target in your upcoming drafts. First up on the list is Brock Bowers. The breakout rookie was a PPR machine last year. His 112 receptions were the third most in the league, and his 153 targets paced all tight ends, and there's a very good chance he gets close to matching that number again this season. He got an upgrade under center in Geno Smith, and in the coaching department in Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly. Now, it would be nice to see him hit pay dirt a bit more, but when you consider how pedestrian the Raiders' offense was last year, along with his lack of red zone targets, 5 touchdowns doesn't seem all that bad. He should easily have one of the largest target shares in the league and is set to have another top 3 finish. If you want him, it will definitely cost you at least a second-round pick. Number 2 on the list is Trey McBride. McBride was essentially the 1B to Bowers' 1A, finishing second in targets and receptions amongst all tight ends. The only thing holding McBride back is touchdowns. He's curiously only scored 5 receiving touchdowns in his 2 years as a starter. Now, it hasn't been due to lack of opportunities, as he finished with the second most red zone targets amongst all tight ends last year. Either way, he's a PPR cheat code and should continue operating as Kyler Murray's safety valve on a pass-happy Arizona Cardinals team. He'll likely go near the top of the 3rd round in most drafts, but given his potential workload, I would even consider drafting him at the back end of the 2nd. Number 3 on the list is old reliable, George Kittle. Kittle was the tight end 1 in standard leagues last year, and his prospects for this year are looking pretty good. Deebo Samuel is out of the picture, Brandon Ayuk is still recovering from a torn ACL and MCL, and this receiving core is thin, leaving a lot of opportunities in the passing game up for grabs. Up until now, Kittle has made a living off of his ability to rack up yards after the catch. And if he wants to have another strong season this year, he'll need to continue banking on that. There were only 3 tight ends last year that eclipsed 1,100 yards: Kittle, McBride, and Bowers. The difference is, Kittle did it with 50 fewer targets, which is impressive, but it also leaves him vulnerable to the occasional clunker. The 49ers have the easiest schedule on paper, and if Kittle can stay healthy, he should rarely come off of the field. Currently, he's projected to go in the 4th round, which may end up being one of the better value picks by the end of the year. Number 4 on the list is Sam LaPorta. After his breakout rookie season in 2023, LaPorta took a step back last year, seeing his production dip in nearly every major receiving category. Much of this can be attributed to the emergence of Jameson Williams, but even with the dip, he still finished as the tight end 6 in standard leagues. Now, the one variable that is a bit unknown is how the Lions will look in the post-Ben Johnson era. Jared Goff did have the 10th most passing attempts last year, and I would expect Detroit to still be a pretty pass-happy team, even with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. So LaPorta is a bit of a gamble in the 5th round, but given his red zone prowess, he could very well exceed his ADP. Number 5 on the list is TJ Hockenson. Coming off of a torn ACL and MCL, Hockenson was limited to 10 games last year. Now that he's 18 months removed from the injury, he should be getting pretty close to returning to form. Still only 28 years old, Hockenson has been a staple of Kevin O'Connell's offense since he came over from Detroit. The big question, however, is whether or not Minnesota's offense will see a drop-off with JJ McCarthy at quarterback. In the best case scenario, Hockenson becomes a security blanket for McCarthy and exceeds his 6th round ADP. Now bear in mind, he will almost undoubtedly start off the year strong, as Jordan Addison is suspended for the first 3 games of the season, which should result in some extra looks for Hockenson. On the flip side, once Addison does return, Hockenson is almost certain to see a slight dip in production. Number 6 on the list is Travis Kelce. Now 35, and on the tail end of his career, Kelce has seen his production decline the last 2 seasons, which has still resulted in top 5 finishes in PPR formats, but he is not the force he once was. He had the 3rd most targets and receptions among all tight ends, and even though his 3 touchdowns were the fewest ever as a starter, he still led all tight ends in red zone targets, with 26. Now yes, some of that was bolstered by the fact that Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown were out of the lineup, but Kelce should still serve as a reliable, albeit not flashy option, at a position that often becomes a wasteland relatively quickly. Expect Noah Gray to continue to eat into his workload, but don't let that scare you off too much. Just adjust your expectations. Kelce is a value if you can get him around the 6th or 7th round, and should remain a fixture on one of the most pass-heavy offenses in the league, as the Chiefs have finished 3rd in pass attempts in each of the last 4 seasons. Number 7 on the list is David Njoku. Despite missing 6 games last year, Njoku finished as the tight end 11th. Pretty impressive. There's no denying the talent. However, the question has always been quarterback play, and to a lesser degree, health. What interests me is the fact that his best year came in 2023, when Joe Flacco was under center for 5 games. And during that stretch, he was a top 3 tight end, which is why I'm cautiously optimistic. Flacco should begin the year as the starter, and if he can hang on to this job, That could bode very well for Njoku. Once again, on the flip side, Flacco did not look very sharp in his limited action as a Colt last year, and could be benched at a moment's notice, which would negatively affect Njoku. I view him as a medium risk, high reward option, but if the quarterback position can be stable, and he can stay healthy, he could very well exceed his ADP. Number 8 on the list is Mark Andrews. Remember when everybody was hitting the panic button after Andrews' slow start last year? Isaiah likely had that breakout week 1 performance and was crowned the new tight end 1 in Baltimore. Well, that narrative was obviously put to rest, and Lamar Jackson's favorite target ended up being the tight end 1 from week 6 onward. Now the concerns for him are all understandable. He turns 30 right as the season begins. He's on a run-first Ravens team that rotates tight ends, and he's largely touchdown dependent. But his upside is still as high as any other tight end. He's also in a contract year, so he's very likely to be chasing stats. I think he's better suited for standard leagues, and he could be a great value pick if his ADP stays in between that 7th and 8th round. Number 9 on the list is Jake Ferguson. After breaking out in 2023 with 71 receptions for 761 yards and 5 touchdowns, Ferguson was slowed by a knee injury along with poor quarterback play last year. But with Dak Prescott back healthy, Ferguson should slide right back into a security blanket role. Over the last 2 seasons, he's averaged around 6 targets per game, and with the Cowboys not really having a running game still and expected to chase points, that seems like a very reasonable expectation for him again this year. As an added bonus, he recently signed a 4-year extension, which is promising for his role in this offense. I think he bounces back and is a bit of a sleeper going in the 11th round. Number 10 on the list is Tucker Kraft. Kraft has firmly established himself as the tight end 1 in Green Bay. Him and Jordan Love have chemistry, as evidenced by Kraft's tight end 7 finish in standard leagues. The hurdle for Kraft is volume. He finished 19th in targets amongst all tight ends, and Green Bay has a ton of mouths to feed. Between Josh Jacobs, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, and now rookie first-rounder Matthew Golden, there's going to be very few balls to go around. So if Kraft wants to replicate his success from last year, he's going to have to be extremely efficient. Now I want to make a couple of honorable mentions. First up, Zach Ertz. Ertz quietly finished as the tight end 7 in PPR formats, and had the 8th most targets amongst all tight ends. Even with the addition of Deebo Samuel, I anticipate Jaden Daniels continuing to lean on his favorite target underneath. Next up, Evan Engram. Evan Engram had a phenomenal 2023 season, and then he had an injury-riddled 2024 season. I do think he's still capable of finishing inside of the top 10, but I just don't like his odds. The Broncos are expected to be a run-first team that are going to lean into their defense and try to win games by controlling the clock. I expect Sean Payton to continue protecting Bo Nix and limit how much he puts on his young quarterback's plate. The third honorable mention is Tyler Warren. We've seen it 2 years in a row now. Rookie tight ends can thrive. First Sam LaPorta, then Brock Bowers, and Warren could very well be the next. He has the pedigree and doesn't have very much competition at the position. Even with a shaky quarterback situation, I can see this passing game flowing through him and Michael Pittman. Lastly, Colston Loveland, the first tight end taken in the 2025 draft. He's recovering from a shoulder injury, but should be cleared for contact soon. While Ben Johnson does know how to use tight ends well, it's kind of hard to know where he's going to fit in. Between Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, and even Cole Kmet, it may take a little time for Loveland to find his place on this offense. Those are the top 10 tight ends to target in your upcoming drafts. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and let me know which tight ends you think we should keep an eye on in the comments below.